Yeah, I'll turn my volume up.
Hey, welcome. Welcome along, Infant Beings. I was just saying I didn't get my headphones. That just threw me off when we went live. There you go. Yes, welcome along to the Infinite Me. It's awesome to have you here. Every day we're having conversations about being infinite, how to incorporate more of that into your life, how to make the decision to really step into your infiniteness and stay in that space rather than floating off into la-la storyland again, getting caught in reality.
Yes.
Yes. So I'm Nat. Over there is Mandy.
Hello.
Yes, we are sisters. Everyone keeps asking. Yes, it's really cool to be doing these conversations every day. We've been going since the 1st of July. We've been having these conversations every day.
Yes.
It's been really fun. We've had lots of shifts ourselves, and there's lots of people watching now that have also had some really cool shifts. So it's cool. Yeah, it's really cool.
It's fun.
So we don't have any agenda when we do these chats. We actually just pull from the Infinite Lucky Dip, which Mandy holds. She is the official treasurer of the Infinite Lucky Dip. And so we just pull a topic out every day, ones that we've actually sort of just dropped into our space to go and do and speak about. So they're all in the Lucky Dip, and we leave it up to the Infinite to work out what we talk about for the day.
Yes.
So yesterday, what did we talk about yesterday? Didn't even ask you.
Was the acting versus reacting?
That's right. Yes. Yeah, we did a whole conversation about that. So yeah, the difference between acting, taking inspired action, and also reacting, which is obviously coming from an ego space where you're sort of responding to your world type thing, but it feels like everything is outside of you and there's lots of drama going on perhaps, and you're just reacting constantly to everything. You feel like you're on that treadmill that you never get off, where you don't actually ever feel like you're consciously creating things.
Yeah.
So we talked a lot about that. So if that feels like a topic that's inspiring to you, then do jump back to that video or audio if you're listening to the podcast.
Yes.
So today, what are we doing today, Mandy?
We've gone apricot this week.
We've got apricot, yes. We have each week we change over our colours here on the screen if you're watching us on Facebook Live.
Yes.
And we have the power of the apricot. I'm in France right now. Apricots are in full bloom. They're everywhere. So we're harnessing the power of the apricot.
All right. Let's do the draw.
All right.
Like I'm drawing lotto numbers or something.
Lotto. And the number is 38. Black 38.
All right.
How are you doing it?
All right. Into the bottom of the bag.
Here we go. All right. Stand by.
It's a fluorescent yellow.
Oh, it's like the past 3 days.
It has. It's an interesting one. Right. Not sure if we phrased this right, but this is kind of how we wrote it down. But we've got people with disorders, like in quotes, have actually got it right. So things like autism, Asperger's, ADHD, things like that are different afflictions, if you like, that we've labelled in society as being a problem or something to be addressed. So we thought we'd tackle that one.
Yeah, okay. This is an interesting one. This one came up because Jodie and I have spoken about this many times, my partner and I, and I haven't known a lot of mentally disabled people. We'll label it as that. So people that are on the spectrum of autism or Asperger's or whatever. I did in my earlier years, I was a girl guide for a while, and we sort of went up to the local disability centre and helped out there. But other than that, I really can't say that I've had a lot of contact with people like that. But we did in Greece. So we were over in Greece. We had a big property there that we were house sitting, and lots of people were there house sitting with us, and a lot of the local families were coming in just to spend time who knew the family that owned the property. And one day a couple of people showed up, and there was a young guy, I guess he was probably in his 20s or something, and he was autistic. And we're sitting there across from each other over the table and having conversations and stuff. And the guy that was with him said, ask him what day your birthday was when you were actually born, and he'll work it out for you. We'll just give him the date, and he'll be able to tell you what day you were actually born. I was like, seriously? Okay. So Jody does hers for 8th of March, 1970. I had to think about that. And he says, he does it, he sits there like Wednesday, whatever day it was. And I was like, oh, serious, I was right. Like, my God. So, okay. So then I do mine. Now, I've always had this belief that I was actually born on a Friday. And my birthday is the 13th of April, 1969. So, yeah, so I just had this feeling. I remember I was like gelling with Friday the 13th. I don't know. But yeah, I always had a feeling that's what it was. And he does this calculation and he goes, Sunday. And I went, no, I'm sure it's Friday. I'm like, sure I was born on a Friday. And that's my whole belief has been around that.
Yeah. And
he's like, Sunday. Like, okay, so we look it up on Google it out, sure enough, Sunday. I'm like, seriously? Go on, how do you do that? But anyway, we've all seen Rainman. We've all seen the capabilities, no doubt, over the years of people on the spectrum of autism. And they are geniuses. Like, they're absolutely incredible.
Yes.
But what I wanted to really highlight was probably beyond all of that is just how in the moment they actually are, how joy-filled they are, how nothing worries them, just the simplistic look at life, that everything is different to them all the time, is the minutiae, the details of things are fascinating to them. It's like, how ridiculous. We're all trying to get to that space.
Yep.
Maybe they got it right. Maybe it's not a disorder at all. Maybe they're actually showing us the infiniteness of all of us and how possible it is. So that's where this topic came from.
Yes. Well, I'm a little bit like you. I haven't had a lot of experience or exposure to different things other than sort of hearing of people. So it's not like I have a direct relative or friend, say, that has one of those I don't want to call it disorder, but kind of it's sort of, I guess it's what society kind of labels it. So it's from that perspective that using that word. But but from what I have seen, and I say I've probably got a couple of nephews actually that sort of probably fall into that ADHD kind of category, probably on the milder side, but they do have some of that tendencies. But from what I've witnessed is just that they have a very focused view of the world, if you like. So they know what they love to do and they just focus on that and they're very good at it. But then some of the other stuff that just doesn't really float their boat, they just don't want to do. So it sort of gets labeled as, oh, they're not paying attention and they're stupid or
they're lazy.
Yeah, lazy. They don't want to sort of pay attention. They're disruptive. That's often
not a good student.
Thrown around with ADHD is that disruptive kind of, and it's usually just because they're so bored with what's actually going on that it's not speaking to their values. It's not speaking to their focus and what they are good at and love to do. But somehow society labels it as a problem that we need to kind of stamp out, sort of thing. So it's just interesting, like as you said, like it does feel like it's more closer to the truth of like they're just more tuned in, it seems, to what they actually really love to do and what's moving through them, and they act on it. That's what it sort of feels like. And because it doesn't fit into the rules of society, then we label it as something that needs to be stamped out. Like the ego kind of gets a hold of that and kind of wants to fix it and change it because it sort of disrupts the status quo, if you like.
Very true. The ADHD one is a really interesting one, because back when we were younger, nobody ever spoke about ADHD. It wasn't a thing. But funnily enough, I actually had it. I remember Mum saying that they went to the doctor because I was so like psycho as a kid, like running around everywhere and just really hyperactive. Yeah. So it never got diagnosed as that. I think the only thing that Mum and Dad ever say now is that they told me not to eat hundreds and thousands, those little tiny little things that are full of food coloring. So don't have any red stuff, don't have like red cordial and stuff like that. So I think that's like a general, people know about that. But back then it wasn't a thing. So do we have more kids now that are out of control? Maybe. But it's probably always the case that we had plenty of kids like that sort of thing. But maybe we were outside more, running around and doing stuff and free to create. And maybe that helped. Now we're sort of sitting behind computers all the time and inside watching TV and all that sort of stuff. Maybe it's brought it out. I don't know. But the fact is, we've probably always had it. And I totally agree. I feel like people or kids that have got ADHD have a very specific, narrow set of values. And if anything falls outside of that, they're not interested. So, because it's so interesting to label a kid with ADHD as lazy, not a good student, unable to learn, perhaps having a late learning disability, all these things that we've said. And it's like, yeah, but you watch them. They'll sit in front of that video computer screen for hours. They are so focused. Like, so the teacher might be going, oh, they're so unfocused and everything. It's like, yet there is no kid that's more focused than an ADHD kid that's actually doing what they love, which which might be video games. They sit there for hours. They would not even go to the toilet. They won't eat. Like, we've watched shows about this, like documentaries and stuff about how kids will just sit there for hours, like to the detriment of almost their health, because they are so focused and they're just doing exactly what they love. And it's like, well, maybe they have got it right, because maybe we all should be doing more of what we love and stop trying to fit into a box of what society says that we should be interested in. And particularly with kids in the schooling system, like the schooling system is so archaic these days in terms of where it's come from and how we're actually trying to teach our kids of rote learning stuff that really has no reference to or it seemingly has no reference to anything at that age, to anything in the outside world. Like, you're going through doing algebra and all these things. It's like, well, how would I ever use that in the outside world? So of course they're not going to be interested in it. Like, why would they be? So that just makes sense. But it's sort of like, the more that they, I guess, well, the more the schooling system, and luckily we actually do have some schooling systems now that are actually getting more into that space, like the Steiner schools and Montessori schools to some degree for the more gifted children. But I do agree. I think a lot of them are just bored. Like, they become disrupted. Like, it's like any human being, like adult or child, that if you're really bored, then you will create drama in your life to get excited about. All the drama that's going on in our lives is because we're just bored shitless, basically, and we're not doing a creative project. Because, and I've proven this time and time again to myself, if I'm actually sitting and doing a creative project, pretty much there is no drama going on in my life. Like, it's just flowing, it's just stuff's happening, because all my attention is going into something that's creative, to doing a business project, and mine's always been business stuff, and putting it out to the world. So that's all my attention goes into that. But as soon as I stop doing that, the dramas start coming back. If I get a bit flaky on, oh, I don't really feel like doing business stuff right now, or I'm just going to take a break or whatever, all the stuff just starts to filter back in again. All the little, oh, someone said such and such, and this is not working now. Can you sort this out? Can you do that? All the technical stuff starts coming in, like, oh, this link's not working, or this is not. And it's just all the little things. And that's like, people are emailing, oh, I've got an issue with this, I've got an issue with that. I was like, here we go again. That's like, why? Because I'm not focused on what's true for me. Like, I'm buying back into the stories. And I sort of feel like the kids that are really focused on stuff, but have to have really narrow sense of what's true for them and their values, have perhaps got it right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, the words that were coming to me was just like, they're not willing to tolerate the bullshit. Like, it kind of feels like it's almost like that's what they're doing. It's just like, nope, doesn't fit what I'm interested in, so I'm not going to sit there and listen to it and pretend to be interested, or pretend to fit into a system that I don't fit into or agree with, sort of thing. It's almost, and that might not necessarily be a conscious decision, but it feels like it's almost like that. It's just a very strong boundary around what is valuable to them and what isn't, and what's true, what isn't, and they'd stick to that. And
maybe there is more kids that are like that now, because they are more like, the millennials are coming through and stating what they want. and they won't tolerate shit.
Yes, definitely.
Like,
Yep.
so maybe there is actually more ADHD because we've called it a condition.
Yes.
And that's why we seemingly have so many more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with what Jodie said here. Anything is only a condition if a label is created to solve someone's need to have a reason for what's wrong.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the person? Yeah,
Yep.
it's true.
Yeah.
I have to have a little label for them.
Yeah, when you think about definitely the way the school system was, and it is changing a little bit, I guess, and definitely with the you know, the move into some of these more independent based schools as well now. But there's definitely like a control factor, I guess, from society that, you know, schools were kind of there to kind of make everybody the same, so that we all came out and we just went and worked in the economy and kept the economy going. We all got jobs and we went to university, and we didn't really step up into our power that much and just kind of went into the job system and kind of kept it turning over sort of thing. So there was no real, you know, to some degree there still isn't. There isn't as much of a call to be creative and to be an individual, to think for yourself. Like it's very much feels very much like rote learning, or just things that aren't that interesting, but you kind of learn
society if everyone's got their own things.
Yeah. So I mean, I even remember at school, I mean, I did do a lot of creative subjects when I, you know, in the older years, when you do get to choose some electives and things like that. But I do remember choosing a lot more creative subjects. But I do just feel like it was sort of rote learning a lot of the time. So you had an exam coming up, so you just read a whole bunch of notes and memorize them basically, so that when you went into an exam, you could just write them out. You know, okay, you might have had to get a little bit more creative with writing an essay or something like that. But even then, you could still, you know, learn a lot of the facts.
Put sentences together that you've learned.
Put them down. So it never actually really felt like you were learning a bunch of stuff that was applicable. I didn't anyway. It didn't kind of, I mean, I was quite good at school, like, and I did like certain subjects. But definitely, like, say, some of the maths subjects, I was quite good at maths, but I did one of the higher electives of maths, and I do remember it was like some foreign language on the board. It's just like I could not see any practical application of that to anywhere in my life, and so I did struggle with it once it got to that point, because it was like, I just don't get it. Like, I didn't really apply myself to it, put it that way, because I just didn't really see the point of it. Like, and I don't think I knew that before I went into that subject picking it. So I think I probably would have been better off picking something else that I had more interest in. But I did pick it at the time because I was good at it, sort of thing. And so then it was kind of, once I got into it, it was like, kind of a bit boring now, not really that interested. And that's, I think, what happened. So yes, I don't know. As I said, don't have a lot of experience with people with that, with these different conditions, if you like, but just that's the feeling that comes through, is that every time I have witnessed something, it's very, very much in their zone of genius, like very much bringing that to the world, very creative thinkers. And I'm just thinking of, as I live down here in Tasmania in Australia, and there's a big art gallery down here called Mona, which is Museum of Old and New Art, and it's getting quite a big name now on the international stage. And it's quite an out there museum. Like, it's a collection, it's a private collection basically, a museum that was built specifically to house this collection. And the man behind it is David Walsh, and he's a Tasmanian man. He has Asperger's, and he's quite high on the spectrum apparently, and he's an absolute genius when it comes to numbers, like systems and numbers. So he pretty much made all of his money doing professional gambling, and he's made absolute millions and millions of dollars professional gambling, and he has formed whole syndicates and trained people in his system, and it's all perfectly legal, as much as our government would like him to not be doing it. They've tried to sue for all different taxes and things like that, and he's earned it all sort of fairly legitimately. So it's kind of interesting.
He's a genius.
So he decided to build this museum and he invested a lot of his money into art, so that it couldn't be taxed and things like that. So and basically he built this museum as a gift to the people of Tasmania. So Tasmanian residents, it's free to go into the gallery anytime they want, whereas other visitors from interstate and overseas pay. to come into it, and they use that funds to kind of, extend the museum and do all different things on the property and stuff. But it's just interesting. He's an absolute genius when it comes to numbers, and has just kind of channeled it into something really like he did it. He created something bigger for the people. I don't know if that was his intention from the beginning. I'm guessing probably it wasn't, but had all this money. It's like, okay, well, I've got to do something with it. Loved art, loved science, and so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to build a big place to house my collection, and then I'll let people come and see it. And that's pretty much how it kind of started. So it's just interesting how, like, somebody that has such a gift like that could channel it into something that creates something big and inspiring that everybody can benefit from, if we let people just actually, focus on their genius and actually bring that into the world unfiltered.
How interesting that people on the spectrum particularly have an ability around numbers and systems and patterns.
Yeah,
and the whole universe is based on that.
Yeah,
like
true.
Mathematics.
Yeah,
and
sacred geometry and fractal
geometry. It just keeps repeating itself over and over again. It's almost like they see that the truth of everything. Through numbers, mathematics, and through patterns. It just sort of really struck me when you said that, and I was like, so many of them are actually really good at that. And I was like, that is the universe. That is the infinite we're talking about here.
Yes.
It's almost like they're more tapped in.
Yeah, and I was just thinking, a lot of the time that I've witnessed people, I guess, out in public sort of situations too, and I know it definitely comes into Asperger's. I think it could be with autism too. I'm not sure, but some people have a very high reactivity to like they're very sensitive to stimulus outside of them, so loud noises and lights, and so take someone into an airport, say, and that's just like sensory overload. They can't handle it. So I just remember recently seeing a young girl with she had to wear sunglasses and she had headphones on, and mum was kind of guiding her, and at times she was getting quite sort of agitated by what was going on around her, and the mum had to kind of keep assuring her and sort of thing, and she kept sort of playing music on her phone, I guess, to kind of drown out the sound. So I'm just making an assumption that she had something like autism. I'm not 100% sure, but it just reminded me of that feeling that I have heard that they have that very high sensitivity. So you just sort of wonder, like, is that very switched into the right brain, like that sort of picking up the
energies of everything.
Yeah, of what is actually true, like that whole expansiveness, if you like. And it's sometimes it could be too much, I guess, maybe for the human brain. It's not kind of wired to be that open, if you like, or something like that. It feels a bit like that it's almost too open to kind of handle the amount of sensory information that we get bombarded with in our life these days.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Like, our brains are taking in every single piece of information at every single moment, and it's all stored in there.
Yes.
But there is those filtering mechanisms, of course, and I think we just add to it in terms of, like, it's probably already there anyway, naturally, in a physical sense, but then we just layer more and more shit onto it, like from our stories and our beliefs and our patterns and all this sort of stuff as well. And so we're just blocking out things to the point that we never see anything.
Yes.
It's like, did you notice, such and such over there, or the red car? I was like, no, like, what's going on around me? I've got no idea. Like, we're so off in our own little world, like we've got no idea what's going on. But it is almost like they're more tapped in, that they do have the ability to take on more energy, like maybe they're reading everything as energy, which is the truth as well. Like, everything is energy. It's just energetic things that don't actually exist in real life. They're just vibrational energies that look like they exist in real life. It's like maybe they are tapped into the truth of that a lot more, and they're just feeling the energies of everything and seeing the energies of everything. So almost seeing that matrix, like if you watch the end of the Matrix and all the walls and stuff are the numbers coming down.
Code,
the binary code, and it's like, but that's actually what's happening. All of it's like that. If we slowed it down enough, or sped it up enough, slowed it down, we'd actually see that with the human eyes. But so maybe they are just feeling more of that sort of stuff. It's just so fascinating. Like, when you put it in terms of consciousness, these people to me, have got it right.
Yeah.
They're like, there is nothing wrong with these people. In fact, they're probably a lot more advanced than most of us are.
Yes, I think so.
And it's sort of like even the Asperger's thing about not dealing in social situations. And I do feel like over the time that I've actually become more conscious and more aware, I've pulled away from social situations as well. I find it really difficult sometimes to actually be part of a social situation now because of reading more energies and not gelling with certain energies and feeling quite drained at times. It depends on the conversation and the person I'm with, obviously, like 100%.
Yeah.
But I guess as you're sort of raising in consciousness, there's a lot more people that it's going to sound like a judgment, but it's not. But there's a lot more people that are not at that level as you, sort of thing. Like you're going up, and sure, consciousness is raising everybody up, but you're going to get more and more people that are not like that.
Still really caught in ego, then haven't kind of started to wake up and question their reality.
So when you're having a conversation with them, at a party or over a coffee or something like that, then it might even just be a friends. Even like we used to be able to talk no problem. Now it's actually quite draining to have a conversation with those people because they're just not at that level. And it's like they're just telling stories and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, oh my God, I can't do this. Yeah. So you find yourself withdrawing more and more from society. And it's like, maybe that's all that's happening with that Asperger's person is like they feel like they're socially awkward sort of thing. And
they have a very heightened, like that filter for them is very heightened perhaps compared to most stuff.
Yeah. So just wrote, I've often thought those that would have been labelled as a spectrum are quite possibly the more normal, being more tuned in, but the masses ruled by ego and control maybe are just the subnormal. Maybe we are back to front. Maybe they are the normal people.
Yeah. In terms of that sensitivity, that having that higher sensitivity, like to be a sensitive person, which a lot of people who start on that consciousness awakening journey, you do often seem to be more sensitive in the first place. Like you pick up on things more than other people do. Like you see the world differently. Seems to be a very common trait anyway, that I've come across anyway with people that I've met on this journey. But literally being all that means being sensitive, because there is a whole bunch of connotations that come with that as well. Like, I'm just too sensitive and I'm too emotional and I'm too this and I'm too that. And we put a lot of judgments on being sensitive and taking on other people's emotions. But all it literally means, being sensitive, is that you are more sensitive to things than other people are. So on a particular area, say maybe you're really sensitive to light, or you're really sensitive to smell, or it could be sensitive to tension, say, or something like that. You pick up on energy. But all it means is that you pick it up more than other people do. You sense it more than other people. So there's like a skill, I guess, if you like a focused skill that you have, that you can sense that a lot more than what somebody else can. So, but we make that somehow mean something about ourselves and make that wrong sort of thing. But I guess in the sense of like Asperger's or autism, that sensitivity is so heightened that it looks like you can't function. Perhaps for some people can't function very well in the way we've got our world at the moment, sort of thing. So maybe it's just highlighting that it's not that there's something wrong with that. It probably is just showing up that our world is too hyperactive at the moment, the way it is. Like everyone's so disconnected and so attached to their phones and TVs and reading the news and things like that. So maybe it is just that being pulled into back into sort of simplified life, if you like, being out in nature a lot more, not as much. I mean, there is still sensory stuff obviously in nature, but it's a different type of sensory input, I feel anyway. It's more of a natural pull. So hearing lots of bird noises or water running, I would assume, I don't know, I'm making an assumption on that in terms of whether that still has the same trigger for people with Asperger's. But it'd be interesting to hear in the comments actually if anybody has a direct experience of these different things, to comment on what your feeling is in the world and how you interpret the world, and what you're saying about the reading energy a lot more and seeing the energy. I'd love to kind of hear more about that actually, if anyone wants to comment.
Definitely great. But I guess the other side of this, which is what Jodie was saying earlier, is that we have labelled these as conditions. Like, that's the thing; it's a condition. and they need to be treated.
Something wrong with them. Yep.
There's something wrong with them,
Apparently.
and I think that's the biggest bunch of bullshit.
Yes.
Like it's so typical of the medical fraternity. And if you come
Yeah.
from a medical fraternity, I apologize, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to shift in the medical fraternity in terms of consciousness.
I think the people watching our type of conversations would already be on that sort of
I'm sure.
other side of the aisle, being the ones trying to change the medical industry if they are definitely doctors or nurses.
And I think these sorts of conversations become important for that, because if there's more people that are actually having a shift in perspective about people with conditions, rather than like, instead of looking at that, maybe looking at, okay, from the consciousness perspective, where are these people sitting? Like they seem to have it more together than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Less in storyland. They're certainly in a lot more joy. You never sort of see so often you see someone with autism that's just got a big smile on their face and just, waving or saying hello to somebody or whatever. Like they just don't have the social filters of, oh, I better not talk to that person. I better not smile because things are really bad.
Yeah.
Like it's just, they always just seem to be happy. And as I said, I have never lived with a person with autism, so I'm sure it's not always like that. But for the most part, like they seem a lot more happy in themselves, in the simplicity of life.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah. Maybe they're simply being put here for the rest of us that don't sort of see the world like that, to actually
I wonder,
be like a signpost or a guide, if you like, to actually draw us back into that simplified way of being, of focusing on what we love, letting that be our guide in life, and being more creative and more playful and more happy within ourselves as well.
Maybe they are leading the way for the rest of us to point to the infinite yet again, like more evidence of the infinite everywhere. As we keep saying, it is everywhere, including in people that have conditions. And particularly mental illness, as we've labeled it these days. Like maybe people are showing us the way.
And I think even just the fact, since they've started, I guess, measuring autism, and they've developed this spectrum now that they put people on, whether they've got mild or severe kind of cases of it. And but even just since they have started putting some kind of regulation around, if you like, so that it's, there is some kind of system that they can kind of use to gauge where people are. It does seem, well, they've definitely said that it's growing exponentially, the amount of people that are being diagnosed, if you like, with autism and Asperger's and ADHD and things like that. So there is definitely an increase in society in it too. So you sort of think, okay, is this in line with consciousness expanding? Because that's
the thing. It's like
consciousness is expanding, exponentially.
We have more of that.
Yeah, so it does seem in line with that. So what is that about? Like there's obviously some correlation between the two, and is it something that we need to kind of fix or stop or slow down? Like it's probably not, but we've still got that feeling, we don't understand it, so we need to control it because we don't know what's going to happen, what
they're capable of.
It's probably what they're afraid of.
They are geniuses. They don't know what they're capable of, what they could create in the world if we let them do what they want to do. Like, so we have to give them pills or whatever treatments that we give these people. It's like suppress it.
Like
ADHD, it's like, let's suppress the, I can only speak from my perspective, and I guess I did have that, like, hyperactivity, I guess, as ADHD. I didn't have so much the focus on one thing. I was just more hyperactive. But you sort of think back to that. I was just full of life. Like that's what it felt like. There was just so much energy coming through me. That you're almost bouncing off the walls, and it's like it gets like crushed more and more type thing until you sort of fit into this box. I don't feel like I have that anymore, but sometimes I wish I did. Like I've often thought back to my childhood and go, oh my God, I was just like nonstop energy sort of thing. Like, and I guess I have it still to a degree, but not like that. And it's like, wow, imagine if I had that sort of energy now, what I could be capable of, what I could do. Like, it's pretty amazing.
I just think of one of my nephews who has had ADHD, but not not majorly kind of disruptive sort of thing to him. But I remember he was on Ritalin, which I think is one of the major drugs that they use to treat it, you know. But I just remember whenever he was on that, he was like an absolute zombie. Like you couldn't actually have a conversation with him. He just couldn't. By the end of the day, he was just so dysfunctional in terms of operating like a normal human person, in terms of just having a conversation and interacting with people. It's just like, it's almost like he was asleep at the table kind of thing. Like, and I just, and since then, my brother and sister-in-law have taken him off. He hasn't been on for many years now because of that, because I was just like, I understand, like, it suppresses some of the other, you know, supposed bad stuff, you know, being in the school system. That was the main reason, you know, for kind of having him on it. But they were just saying, like, the side effects are just not worth it. But like, it is almost like you're completely taking the life out of them. So it's like, what's the point? Like, it's kind of
but that is the point.
The other way, doesn't it?
Of the medical system, that is the point. It's like,
Yeah.
take the life out of them, because then they're controllable.
Yeah,
we'd rather have people that are doped up to the eyeballs rather than totally out of control.
Yeah.
You know, we'd rather have them depressed than angry or throwing tantrums, or, you know,
seeing what's actually true for them and moving through them in the moment.
Yeah, actually sitting with them and working through. And that's the craziness of it, is that we all have a set of values that we all live by, and we will do anything to defend those set of values. It might be your family, it might be your work, it might be making money, like could be anything.
Yes.
But it's sort of like, because we have such a wide variety of, well, most people have such a wide variety of values, it looks quite normal. So we function like we can have a family, and we can go to work, and we can have a money life and a social life and a sex life and all those sorts of things. We're capable of handling all of those things. Perhaps somebody with ADHD, now we're talking about it, has one or two values. That's it. Maybe they have just one value. To the exclusion of all else. And they will do anything to meet that value.
Yes.
Including throw tantrums and do all the rest of it, because that's what they want to do. They just want to do that one thing. But because we say, particularly, I guess that could be games, and we've deemed that as non-productive in the world, and so we have to change that. They can't be addicted to video games. That's not right. Rather than letting them see what comes of those video games, sort of thing. Maybe they create their own video game. Maybe they write a book from it. Like, who knows what they're going to do from playing those games, sort of thing. They might become a fighter pilot. You just don't know what's going to come if you let somebody have that sense of expression for a period of time, sort of thing, particularly kids, and allow them to explore that.
Yes.
Jody's just saying frustration is one of the biggest emotions with those with autism. Yeah, feel that it gets amplified when those don't see what you see, feel what you feel, are able to communicate, to be understood. Hang on, that's me. That's actually funny. When I was just reading that, I was like, that's actually you. And that's pretty much what Jody says all the time, is like, I find it really hard to sort of put into words what I'm feeling, sort of thing, like, and explain myself. So I'm often sitting there going, I don't get what you're saying. Like, you're sort of like you're 10 steps ahead of me, like of where you're at right now. I need you to give me context or something to try and explain what's going on here, because I'm really lost. And she gets really frustrated with that. So maybe just on the spectrum, babe.
Yes.
But it's true, that frustration. And it's like, maybe they don't communicate in words so well. That language, they've got their own language, which is very different, energetic language instead.
Yes. I can relate to what Jody's sort of sharing too, because I think I am like that a little bit when it comes to ideas and creative stuff that kind of flows through me. Sometimes, like, I could see these big visions, and it's really hard to kind of to explain it to somebody else, like what you're kind of seeing, and like how big and expansive it is, kind of thing. And it, to put that into words, then, like, to what you can visually see, sometimes is, I kind of get that. It's hard to sort of it is frustrating at times. Definitely.
Totally. Yes. Very cool. Well, I'm making a call. I'm putting it out to the world and to the medical fraternity to stop calling these conditions and actually start seeing them for what they are, allowing people to be as they are, and see what happens.
Yes.
See where we end up, what they can teach us, where they might help all of us at the end of the day, and stop doping people up with shit.
Yes.
There you go.
Probably more having conversations with people to find out actually how they see the world, like to actually understand it a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And if somebody is on the spectrum somewhere, and would like to come on and have a chat to us about that on a live, we'd be more than happy to have a chat about that and actually explore it a bit more, because, as I said, we're only seeing this from our very limited knowledge of and observation of people that are like this, but it was enough to spark a conversation, and it feels pretty true. Like it's time to shift some stuff up.
Yes. Yep.
Definitely. Very cool. All right. Yeah, throw in some ideas and thoughts on this. This could be a bit controversial. I get that. But that's cool. That's really good that we're having these conversations. So, yeah, give us your thoughts in the comments.
Yes. I'd like to hear.
Yeah, definitely. All right. That's it from us.
Thanks for joining.
That's a wrap.
See you tomorrow.
I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
Go and play in your own infinite spectrum.